Welcome to Cheating Stories Diary, where raw heartbreak meets quiet redemption. I used to think love was a steady rhythm, a heartbeat you could count on, even in the quiet moments. But by the time I realized mine had flatlined, I was already drowning in the silence. My name's Lucas, and this is the story of how my partner of 8 years, Elena, turned our shared life into a hollow shell, and how I walked away, not with a scream, but with a whisper that still haunts her. I'm a 34-year-old architect in Seattle, and Elena's a marketing strategist who thrives on late nights and high stakes. We'd built a life together, or so I thought, until the cracks became too wide to ignore. It started subtly, the way a Seattle drizzle soaks you before you realize you're drenched. Elena and I had been together since our late 20s, meeting at a mutual friend's art gallery opening in Capitol Hill. She'd laughed at my awkward attempt to analyze a painting, her dark eyes sparking with mischief, and I was hooked. We moved in together after 2 years, bought a sleek condo overlooking Lake Union, and filled it with mid-century furniture and memories of weekend hikes in the Cascades. We didn't want kids, a choice we made early, preferring to chase our careers and each other. I thought we were solid, maybe not perfect, but steady. But around the time Elena landed a big promotion at her firm last spring, something shifted. Our evenings, once spent cooking pasta and debating which podcast to binge, turned into her staring at her laptop, muttering about deadlines. I'd try to pull her close on the couch, but she'd stiffen, offering a distracted smile and a "not now, Lucas." First, I brushed it off. Stress, I told myself. She just spearheaded a campaign for a tech startup, and the pressure was intense. But weeks stretched into months, and the distance grew colder than the lake breeze seeping through our windows. I remember one night, the city lights glinting off the water outside, when I tried to bridge the gap. We were sipping bourbon on our balcony, the air sharp with the scent of rain, the glass cold against my palm. I reached for her hand, my voice soft, almost pleading. "Elena, are we okay? You've been distant." She pulled her hand back, her gaze fixed on the glass in her lap, the amber liquid catching the light like a trapped flame. "We're fine," she said, her tone clipped, slicing through the stillness. "I just don't need all that clinginess anymore. We're past that, don't you think? It's healthier this way, no pressure." Her words hit like a punch I didn't see coming, each syllable a shard of glass embedding itself in my chest. Healthier? I felt the bourbon burn in my throat, my mind racing, a frantic drumbeat of questions. Was I the problem? Was I asking for too much by wanting to feel her warmth again, to feel like we were still us? That night, I lay in bed, her body inches from mine but a universe away. The city hummed outside, a low, mournful drone. But inside, it was just me and the echo of her words, reverberating like a ghost I couldn't shake. I started waking up with a heaviness in my chest, a mix of longing and confusion, as if I'd swallowed a stone that refused to dissolve. I'd watch her move through our mornings, brewing coffee, slipping into her tailored blazers, her heels clicking against the hardwood like a metronome counting down to something I couldn't name, and wonder who this stranger was, wearing the face of the woman I loved. The absence of touch wasn't the worst part, it was the absence of us. No more brushing her hair back while she sketched campaign ideas, the soft strands slipping through my fingers like silk. No more lazy Sundays with her head on my chest, her laughter vibrating against my skin as we mocked my terrible puns over brunch. We still talked, but it was hollow. About her boss's latest demands, the condo straight fees, the new ramen spot in Belltown that we never ended up trying together. It felt like we were roommates playing at being a couple, reciting lines from a script we'd outgrown. I'd catch myself staring at her across the room, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of her laptop screen, and feel a pang of longing so sharp it stole my breath. I wanted to reach out, to pull her back to me, but her walls were up, and I didn't know how to climb them. I tried to reconnect in ways I thought might spark something. I suggested a weekend getaway to Whidbey Island, picturing us walking along the beach, the salty air tangling her hair as we rediscovered each other. She brushed it off, saying her team needed her for a pitch. I booked a couples pottery class in Pioneer Square, hoping it might bring back her playful side. the one that used to smear clay on my cheek and laugh when I pretended to be annoyed. But she canceled at the last minute, claiming a client meeting ran late. "Next time," she'd said, her voice flat, and I'd nodded, swallowing the disappointment like a bitter pill. I started to feel like a ghost in my own home, haunting the edges of her life, my presence fading with every rejection. Then, the changes became impossible to ignore. She'd come home later, her dark hair slightly mussed, her cheeks flushed in a way that didn't match the exhaustion she claimed. I'd catch the faint scent of cigarettes on her jacket, a habit she'd quit years ago when we started dating. She started wearing a new perfume, something citrusy and sharp, not the warm vanilla I'd bought her for our 5th anniversary. She'd leave for client drinks at odd hours, her phone buzzing with texts she'd quickly silence. One morning, as I poured coffee into my favorite mug, the one she'd painted with a lopsided heart years ago, I saw her slip a second phone into her bag. It was a cheap burner, not the sleek iPhone her company issued. My stomach twisted, a cold dread settling in my bones. "New work phone?" I asked, keeping my tone light. She didn't look up from her laptop. "Yeah, for a project. Nothing exciting," she said, but her shoulders tensed, and her fingers tightened around her mug. I knew she was lying, and the realization hit me like a wave, pulling me under. The doubt became a living thing, gnawing at me with sharp teeth. I'd lie awake at night, the glow of the Space Needle filtering through our blinds, casting jagged shadows on the ceiling. I'd replay every moment, every half-hearted excuse, my mind a carousel of suspicions. Was I imagining this? I thought back to a rainy evening years ago, when we danced in our tiny studio apartment in Queen, and her laughter filling the space as I spun her around. We'd been broke, but we'd had each other. That Elena felt like a dream I couldn't wake up to. Now, I was sleeping next to a woman who flinched when I brushed her arm, who looked through me like I was a piece of furniture she'd grown tired of. I started noticing patterns I'd been too hopeful to see before. She'd come home with her lipstick slightly smudged, a shade of crimson I'd never seen her wear for me. She'd hum to herself in the shower, a melody I didn't recognize, her voice carrying a lightness that felt foreign in our home. One evening, as I folded laundry, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. Drinks at a bar in South Lake Union, dated for a night she'd said she was working late. The paper crumpled in my hand, my chest tightening. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation, but the pieces were forming a picture I couldn't unsee. I decided to dig deeper, though it felt like betraying my own principles. One night, while she was at another team dinner, I logged into our shared cloud account, my hands shaking as I navigated to a folder labeled Work Miscellaneous. There, I found screenshots of texts between her and someone named Caleb. "Can't wait to see you tonight," one read, the words searing into my brain. "He's clueless," another said, followed by a laughing emoji. My heart stopped, the room tilting around me. He's clueless. That was me. The man she'd promised forever to, reduced to a punchline in her secret life. The betrayal was a slow bleed, draining the warmth from my body. I sat there, the screen's blue light burning my eyes, my breath shallow. "You make me feel alive," she'd written to him, a confession that cut deeper than any lie. I thought of the nights I'd spent lying awake, wondering what I'd done wrong, while she was out there, giving the best of herself to someone else. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I closed the laptop and poured another bourbon, letting the truth settle like ash in my lungs. She wasn't just pulling away. She was building a life without me, while I'd been trying to save ours. I could have confronted her right then, let the hurt spill out in a messy fight. But that's what she expected. Elena always had a way of spinning arguments to make me feel like the unreasonable one. So I chose a different path, one that would cut deeper than any shouting match. I'd give her the freedom she wanted, but on my terms, a quiet severing that would leave her with the echo of what we'd been. I started by mirroring her detachment. No more reaching for her hand. No more asking about her day with hope in my voice. I'd cook dinner, salmon with lemon glaze, her favorite, but I'd eat alone, leaving her plate on the counter. I'd smile when she walked in, but it was a hollow smile, the kind that doesn't reach your eyes. She noticed, her brow furrowing as she stood in the kitchen. "You okay, Lucas?" she'd ask, her voice softer than it had been in months. "Fine," I'd say, and turn away, leaving her in the silence she'd created. I wanted her to feel the emptiness she thought she wanted. Behind the scenes, I was moving pieces into place, my architect's mind mapping out my exit. I met with a lawyer in a quiet cafe near Pike Place Market, the aroma of espresso mingling with the briny scent of the waterfront as she outlined my options. We weren't married, but our finances were tangled. Joint accounts, the condo, a shared car that now sat unused. I hired a private accountant to untangle our assets, ensuring I'd walk away clean. I started looking at rentals in Fremont, picturing a space that was mine alone, a place where I could breathe again. Every step was deliberate, a brick in the wall I was building between us. I also started reclaiming my life in small ways. I joined a climbing gym in Ballard, something I'd loved before Elena but had abandoned. I'd come home sweaty and alive, my muscles aching in a way that felt honest. I posted photos on Instagram, me on a bouldering wall, me grabbing beers with friends at a Fremont brewery. Elena commented once, "Looks fun, miss you," but I didn't reply. I wanted her to see what she was losing, to feel the space I was carving out without her. One evening, as I sat on our balcony sketching a new building design, the city lights shimmering on the lake below, I let my mind wander to a memory that still stung. It was our 3rd anniversary, a snowy night in Leavenworth, the air thick with the scent of pine and wood smoke. We'd rented a cabin, spent the evening by the fire, her head on my shoulder as we whispered about our future. Dreams of traveling to Japan, of growing old together. "I'll always choose you, Lucas," she'd said, her breath warm against my neck. Now that promise felt like a cruel joke. I gripped my pencil tighter, the lead snapping against the page, my hand trembling as I set it down. She'd chosen someone else, and I'd been too blind to see it. Have you ever felt a growing distance in a relationship you thought was solid? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you navigated that pain. We're in this together. The final act came on a foggy Saturday morning, the kind of Seattle day where the mist clings to everything, a gray shroud that matched the heaviness in my chest. Elena had come home late the night before, her jacket smelling faintly of cedar and smoke, scents that didn't belong to our home. I'd spent the night finalizing my plans, printing the paperwork my lawyer had prepared. I placed it in a manila envelope, along with a small velvet box. The promise ring I'd given her years ago, its silver band now a symbol of a future that would never come. She was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, the soft clink of her spoon against her coffee mug the only sound in the room, when I walked in. I set the envelope on the counter, the ring box beside it, the velvet catching the morning light like a dying star. Her eyes flicked up, curious, then wary, a flicker of unease crossing her face. "What's this?" she asked, her voice tight, a thread of fear woven through the words. I leaned against the counter, my heart steady for the first time in months, a calm resolve settling over me like a cloak. "It's what you wanted," I said, my voice low but firm, each word deliberate, a verdict I'd spent months preparing. Freedom, no pressure, no me. Her fingers hesitated over the envelope, then tore it open, the sound of ripping paper slicing through the silence like a blade. She scanned the papers, asset division, a notice to transfer the condo lease to her name, each line a nail in the coffin of our life together. Her face paled, her breath catching, a sharp gasp that echoed in the quiet kitchen. "Lucas, what is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling, her eyes wide with a fear I'd never seen in her before. I didn't flinch, my gaze steady, my resolve unshaken. "I know about Caleb," I said, the name a bitter taste on my tongue. "I know about the texts, the late nights, the lies. I know you called me clueless while you built a life behind my back. I'm not here to fight, Elena. I'm here to let you go." Her eyes filled with tears, the first I'd seen in years, but I wasn't done. My words a quiet storm that had been brewing for too long. "You wanted a relationship without pressure, right? So here it is. You're free. Take the ring, sell it, keep it, I don't care. But I'm done carrying the weight of us alone. She reached for me, her hand trembling, her fingers outstretched like a drowning woman reaching for a lifeline. But I stepped back, my movement deliberate, a boundary she couldn't cross. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking, a sob catching in her throat. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was lost, Lucas. I thought I needed something else to feel alive. You did? I said, my tone even, a calm that belied the storm inside me. And now you get to live with that choice. I deserve someone who chooses me, not someone who keeps me as a backup plan. I grabbed my jacket, my keys, the metal cold against my palm, and walked out, each step a release, a shedding of the weight I'd carried for too long. The fog swallowed me as I stepped onto the street, a gray embrace that felt like freedom, the sound of her sobs fading behind me, a distant echo I no longer needed to hear. I didn't look back, the door closing behind me with a soft click, a final note in the symphony of our end. It's been 4 months since that morning, and the fog of that day has long since lifted, replaced by a clarity I hadn't known I'd lost. I moved into a studio in Fremont, a cozy space with exposed brick and a view of the canal, the water's gentle ripple a soothing contrast to the chaos I'd left behind. The first few weeks were raw. I'd wake up reaching for her, only to find the other side of the bed cold, the sheets untouched, a stark reminder of her absence. But slowly, I started to heal, stitching myself back together with the threads of a life I'd forgotten I could live. I filled my days with things I'd forgotten I loved. Sketching cityscapes at Gasworks Park, the Seattle skyline taking shape under my pencil, each line a reclaiming of my creativity. Climbing at the gym, the burn in my muscles a reminder of my strength. Playing acoustic covers at open mic nights in Ballard, the strum of my guitar a melody of renewal. I even started dating again, a barista named Maya, with a laugh that reminds me what joy feels like. Her smile a light I hadn't realized I'd been missing. Elena tried to reach out, her attempts as persistent as they were futile. A few texts, a voicemail begging to talk, her voice cracking with desperation. Even a letter slipped under my door, the paper creased from her grip, her handwriting a plea I didn't answer. I didn't respond, my silence a boundary she couldn't cross. A choice I made for myself. She'd made her choice and I'd made mine, a decision that set me free. I heard through a mutual friend that Caleb bailed when she tried to get serious. He wasn't looking for complications. A bitter irony that made me smile, a small victory in the aftermath of her betrayal. She's still in the condo, posting cryptic Instagram stories about growth and lessons. Her words a mask for the emptiness I know she feels. I don't check her page anymore. I don't need to, my life no longer tethered to hers. I'm not the man I was when I loved her. A truth that fills me with both pride and sorrow. I'm stronger, sharper, more sure of what I deserve. A man forged in the fire of her betrayal. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reshapes you, if you let it, molding you into someone new, someone who knows their worth. I walk lighter now, the weight of her absence replaced by the freedom of my own presence. A lightness I feel in every step, every sketch I draw, every chord I strum, every smile I share. It's for me, and for the person who'll one day love me without hesitation. A love I now know I deserve. Want to hear the full story of how I found my strength again? Head over to Cheating Stories Diary on YouTube, where we share more tales of heartbreak and healing. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of our journey together.